Okay guys, and welcome back. So let's move on from here and let's keep doing the other part of the body. Especially this time we're gonna do the leg. The leg is fairly easy. So what we can do is we can just holding down tab and just draw out, extrude out the edge, and then just holding down control to add edge loops, and then you can holding down shift to smooth those. To even out their positioning. Now because let me actually delete the last loop I did there. And for those part I'm gonna make them flatter. So that way when I do smoothing, I will end with more parallel loops. Again, because of this part never really needs to have a lot of deformation, because they basically just need some twisting in the future. Maybe some bending if you want to have bendy arm or leg, but I barely see animators do that, animate it that way. It's just some fancy things, high technical things that you can add, but it's not that useful for most of the character animations, I think. But again, I don't do animation, but according to a lot of my friends who do animation, they don't really think they use that a lot when they're doing character animation. It's for the bendy arm or even stretching arm. Sometimes it's useful, but not like all the time. It's not like have to be there all the time. So I need maybe like a more loop in the middle, just so that when it twists, it have better volume. Okay. And I can then move on to the knee. So for the knee, one of the things you can do is just do it. Just do the loops around it all the way down. Don't do anything else. Just keep going. Exits. The reason being is you can use texture and normal map to do that little part. And if you do it using this kind of like setup, maybe more loop here in the middle to support the bending, the benefit will be that you will end up with very easy to do skin weighting. Again, the simpler the topology is, the easier the weighting will be in the future. And even the UV sometimes is easier. But the shape will be not as good because it's blurry. Right. So that's one of the approach. If you have a much denser geometry, that's also depending on how dense your geometry can be. If it can be really dense, then even this kind of topology can make a decent shape over there. But if you don't have if you don't want it to be using normal map to represent that, then you really want it to have topology to represent those shapes. So let me delete those ones so that we can really do it here. Let me go Ctrl 2 again, so it's going inwards. Wrap around the knee. Like that. So that's the knee part. And from the side we have muscles also wrapping around it, so we can have that part here too. Okay, so that's two loops to represent this muscle here, and the other one on the other side. Okay. And then let's rotate to the back. I'm gonna do this real quick. So the muscle will be denser. The topology will be more like this way, because the muscle is gonna go like that. Actually, I'm gonna make it even go higher than this. It's gonna be something like this on the back. Okay, so that's a little detailed way of representing that part of the body, so that I have the loops to represent, so you get a sharper result. You can also see some of the structures even, and if your topology is a little more denser, you probably can end up with even more visible results. So this one gives you better shape. It's harder to do weighting, but again, it can be weighted if you're really careful. I mean, the rigger should be able to do this, even it's not really simple, right? If I'm the rigger, I'm totally fine with it. So anyway, so I'm gonna fast forward this part maybe, because it's a really boring job. Again, topology here, you can have more or lesser loops, but one of the recommendations is, again, make them more like this, so that when the rigger is doing the twisting, it's very easy to define the weighting on this area. Okay. One more loop here. I think that's enough amount of loops. Okay, for the foot, again, one of the things you want to have for the ankle is another loops, so that it can bend while. So I'm gonna give it enough amount of loops, and then you want to define where you want to transfer from the ankle to the front of the foot, again, that's gonna be where the penta is. So let me do 3 here and 3 here on that side. And they're gonna go forward. So I'm gonna make the penta here. Okay. So from that, we'll have transfer the leg to, or the ankle to the front of the foot, if that makes sense. Oh. And what's behind it will be the you know, the heel. Yeah, I think that's enough loop to bend. And for the heel, because it's solid, I don't really care, and it's gonna be covered by the shell anyways. So I'm just gonna fill it in with simple loops. One of the things about my retopologizing too is that it gets really slow when your model is getting really complicated. So I maybe need to keep deleting history, maybe even more than I used to. But once you delete the history, it's gonna go faster again. So that's the back. Let me maybe have one more loop here to make it go, to make the contour looks better. So using topology, I think there is a very good programming concept or ideal here, that what they keep saying is that when you're defining something, define it as simple as possible, but no simpler. Same thing here. You wanted to make the topology as less as possible, but no lesser. So it does support the required deformation, but it's not really that dense, so that it's gonna make the weighting process painful, and the model really heavy to for the package, especially for game model. That's particularly true, especially true. So theoretically, the middle of the foot shouldn't be able to bend. Only the toe part can bend, so you don't need that much of a loop in the middle. And let me just extrude out one more loop. And here I need to define how it ends up in the front. Now, one thing you will always be sure is that you're having even numbers. So we can do display, object display, polygons, oh, heads up display actually, polygons somewhere here. Yeah, so it's 30, 15 on each side. That means it's not an even number. So somehow I have uneven loops across the body going downwards. I can choose to add one more loop somewhere in the middle, or one lesser loop somewhere. Let me try something right here. So instead of that one going inwards, right, I'm gonna make it go this way, and have that one going downwards. so that I'm having one lesser loop. Here, if you go select it here now, it's 28, so 14 on each. That's a good even number. That means I have to figure out what's happening here on this triangle. I can maybe move that problem. Let's actually use quadra. So that problem could be what's happening over here. So I could choose to have one more loop going upwards. Actually, I don't need to delete that. It's just over there. Okay. Let me smooth these out. So that the problem of there will be transferred to something happening on the lag over here. So I may choose to do this, and let's see, what do I do over here? No. Actually, it's not that easy because we need to have even numbers. If I make this go inside, it's gonna do something here on the top. So let me do this then. This one I can keep it, make it keep going to the top somewhere here. Okay, you can actually move any problem anywhere across the model like this. So the problem happening on my foot now is being transferred all the way to the waist already, all the way up to the waist. Okay, so here I think I can actually have it fixed around here. Right, by moving this guy, keep moving this guy inwards. That should be here. And let's see, this one can go like that. Should I just, maybe I can just choose to merge everything here together into one loop. I might have been going a little overboard on this guy and pushing it too much, but yeah. So one can be then up. So this one goes in, and I can then have it to be positioned over here. It's getting really slow when I do a lot of commands, but yeah, so it's gonna be redistributed like this way. So I'm deleting a lot of loops down the way just to make that little thing work. Now those things I think are worth fighting for, because the cleaner the topology is, it's easier, gonna be much easier for the production down the line. Okay. Alright. I think that's a good practice. If you have that problem too, maybe you wouldn't, because sometimes you are having a proper amount of lines, and even you don't, and you don't want to fix that part, you can, of course, don't do that, because it's always possible that you end up with a triangle in the front, the tip of the toe, and that's totally fine, because no one is gonna really judge there is a triangle over there. It would be ridiculous to think a triangle is not allowed across the entire topology, because that the topology here we're doing, they're all quads for a reason. They are all quads because quads are easier to think about, they're easier to use to represent a shape. But in reality, when the renderer is rendering the geometry, it's converting all the quads into triangles. Now the reason for that is, of course, the quads you created, because it has 4 vertices according to geometry, it's not guaranteed to be on the same face, right? On the same 3D plane or 2D plane. So it is necessary that when you're rendering, you render by triangles, because it's guaranteed that that face is actually a face instead of a 3-dimensional shape, a 2D face, if that makes sense. Anyway, alright, so I just did some little trick to finish that part, did some cleaning up. If you wanted to do, you can spend a lot of time on this part to clean things up. I'm spending 20 minutes already. So let me just finish this real quick. So for the fronts, I'm just gonna because it's even number now, so I can finish it with ease. Let me actually do this. So to close this hole, what I can do is just do an extrusion, check it out, and make it smaller, and then fill the hole, and then go connect from top down, if that's easier. So that's that, and I have another one over there, and this one, and go inwards and connect to there, and this one inwards and connect to there. And I do find something I did wrong here. I have more here than there. So what should be happening here is that this line should be over there, and the other line should be, should be shifted to, one loop to the other side, so I can connect those. Okay, so I finished the topology. All I have to do now is go grab the vertices and just drag them forward so they're being snapped, and then I can use quad draw tool to just smooth them out. And I'm done with the foot. Okay, so next class we're gonna go finish the arm, and then we finish the hand, and we're done with the basic topology. Okay, see you next time.